Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Building Energy Resources Hub's Save Money, Save Energy webinar series. This one is Free Building Optimization by ComEd. We're so excited to have you all here today for this series and for this topic. My name is Katie Kaluzny. I'm the Deputy Director at the Illinois Green Alliance and work with the Building Energy Resource Hub and our project team. We're really excited to have you here and share some updates about the hub and get going into this topic. But before we started, I wanted to let you know that Building Energy Resource Hub is a clearinghouse for building energy retrofits, efficiency, and decarbonization resources designed for the commercial and multifamily building industry. It was created to help owners of multifamily buildings, operators, property managers, contractors, municipal and community partners with assistance on planning, financing, and implementing building retrofits throughout Illinois. How we do this, the Hub is a project hosted by Illinois Green Alliance, a nonprofit, in partnership with a number of partners, including Elevate, the Illinois Climate Bank, ComEd, and the City of Chicago, and is supported by funding from the U.S. Department of Energy's Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy under the Building Technologies Office, along with generous funding support from ComEd and the Builders Initiative. We have a number of partnerships that help make this work possible. And collaboration partnerships is how we learn all of these great things to be able to share with you. So we have partnerships through industry partnerships with BOMA Chicago, AIA, Powering Chicago, and more, municipal partnerships, and statewide partnerships with agencies across the state. And then community partnerships, working on engagement to meet the needs of building owners and neighborhoods across Chicago region and the state. The goals of the hub are to educate and train building professionals, support diverse contractors, connect contractors with project pipelines of high-performance projects in the area, and build capacity for advanced codes and policies and streamline access to financial resources. We're going to be doing that through a number of webinars, educational resources, and a newsletter that you can sign up for that we'll share a little bit later. But we are building capacity for these retrofits across the state. And really working with to increase contractor knowledge and building owner and operator knowledge. And so this webinar, that series we're having today, shines a light on some of the great resources that ComEd has to offer to help get a better sense of what is happening at your building and what the opportunities are to make improvements and operation enhancements. We have a number of great presenters here with us today that are going to help talk us through that in 30 minutes or less. And so I want to just welcome a few folks to our webinar today. Abdul Hadi Ayub is Resource Innovation Senior Project Manager. Rhonda Zaleka from ClearResult. She's a Market Outreach Manager. John Mascarenas is with ClearResult, and he's the Strategic Energy Management Regional Director. And Brian Keller with Waypoint Energy as a Senior Program Manager. We'll also be joined by Emily Pauley and Marty Jacobson, project managers with ComEd, during the Q&A at the end today. And so please feel free and enter your questions in the chat throughout the webinar. We'll have folks answering throughout the webinar, and we'll have time for Q&A here at the end as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Keller to kick us off.
Great. Thanks so much, Katie. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our Save Money and Save Energy series. This is our second presentation within the series. Today, we'll be covering the ComEd retro commissioning and strategic energy management offerings. Next slide, please. So today's agenda is we've already gone through our introductions. So now we'll be starting our overview of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Then we'll dive into more details about retro commissioning, as well as the building operators certification that's available. And then on the second half, we'll be jumping into strategic energy management. I'll jump back on in the end to kind of establish some next steps for us and transition us over to our Q&A time. Next slide, please. So I can easily say that ComEd is a national leader when it comes to offering comprehensive demand-side management solutions to customers and making a positive customer experience the priority. So as you can see here, ComEd offers much more than just energy efficiency, everything from demand response and dynamic pricing, all the way to solar, EV, and beneficial electrification programs. So don't sleep on these other solutions that are offered. Please reach out to us to learn more. We can go to our next slide. So this slide does a great job of offering the big picture of all the impact from the ComEd energy efficiency and its portfolio of different offerings. So the program has been in place since 2008, so we've had a lot of time to make a big impact. I could easily talk about this slide all day with all the fun numbers that are in here, but I will just stop and highlight a couple. So one, $9 billion saved on customer bills. So that's direct savings to customers about, literally, paying less money each month. Nearly 2 billion in incentives provided to those customers. So not only are we saving money, but we're providing incentive dollars to help push these projects forward and, in the end, save money and save energy. And then, ultimately saving 82.47 million net megawatt hours. So a lot of units in there, but ultimately that's a lot of savings. So great job of saving energy throughout this time. And then ultimately, kind of what does that boil down to? What's that impact that we're all chasing? How can we make our planet a better place and our communities a better place? 70 billion pounds of carbon dioxide reduction based off of all these numbers and all that impact. So easily can say very proud of how this program has been going, and very, very excited and optimistic about future years and more impact to be made. Next slide, please. So a common question we get is kind of, where do these incentive dollars come from? It doesn't always make sense for ComEd to offer money to customers to use less of their product, right? So the simple answer to this question is that these incentive dollars come from all of us. So if you are a ComEd account owner, and therefore you pay a bill every month, there is a line item on the bottom of your bill that says energy efficiency programs, and we all pay a little bit each month into these programs. So it's a good way to kind of think to yourself that, one, we're already participating. It's really about how can we really take advantage and get some of that incentive dollars back. And the best way is to one, engage with these programs, and two, do some energy efficiency projects to save energy. So yes, the rate is based on kWh usage per month. So larger using facilities pay more into the funds, but at the same time, you can usually have larger projects and receive more incentives on the back end. There's been over $9 billion in energy costs saved since 2008. So something I mentioned earlier. And once again, nearly 70 billion pounds of carbon emissions reduced. So these programs really do have a major impact. And from my point of view, I myself live in the ComEd service territory, so I pay in every month too, and it's definitely something I find worth participating in. We'll jump to our next slide. So this slide provides a little bit more information about just the energy efficiency programs. And I mentioned before that large portfolio of offerings. So kind of my favorite thing to say is there's not only an offering for everybody, but multiple offerings for everybody. So it's something where you can be engaged year over year, always find something new and different to really help your facility, reduce energy usage and optimize your operations. So it's kind of starting in our first column with facility assessments. Those are free. We spoke about those in our last presentation and in the series. So if you missed that presentation, be sure to go back to that recording and learn more. We have our traditional incentives. So you're gearing up for a project. You submit for the pre-application process. You kind of understand what incentive is reserved for you. You move forward with that project and you receive that incentive after the project is finished, kind of that more traditional way of going about things. We have our instant discount offering as well, which is a point of sale discount that is on lighting, new rooftop units, and commercial kitchen equipment. So that is where you work with one of the approved uh, what's the word, distributors with ComEd, so that they can basically provide that incentive at point of sale. You pay a lower price than what it's was originally stated, and that difference in price then gets sent over to the distributor through ComEd, kind of on the back end. So very seamless process for you as the customer, and no paperwork needed. And then lastly, we have our optimization programs, which is what we'll be diving into later on the future slides, where we do kind of there's a whole building retro commissioning, and also our strategic energy management program, which are longer term engagement programs that provide deeper detail into your building operations and really find great ways to optimize that operation. Yeah, so we can move on to our next slide here, where I'll be handing the baton over to Abdul Hadi. So that concludes everything, the brief overview on energy efficiency and clean energy solutions. Handing it over to Abdul Hadi, program manager with the retro commissioning offering. So yeah, go ahead, take it away.
All right, thanks, Brian. Cool. So retro commissioning, what is RCX? It's an engineering study-based program that offers a fully funded study to your building, which focuses on your HVAC systems, building optimization of your control system and operations. The idea is to work on, take a look at these systems that you already have. We're not implementing anything major, no capitals, no retrofits, nothing like that. It's just focusing on your building automation controls and looking for rooms for adjustments, such as these low-hanging fruits. And we'll cover that in a little bit here. But the idea, this program typically saves about 5 to 10% of your annual usage. We do work with a closed network of service providers. So these are engineering firms that will be conducting the studies and will help walk you through the entire process. Next slide, please. We do have 3 different types of studies. Retro commissioning Flex, which is the basic RCX program. It's one and done kind of thing where the service provider will go in, identify a list of measures, and then help you implement and verify. This is a pretty good solution if you've never done a retro commissioning study before. However, if you have monitoring-based commissioning, could be a good fit. It does include an FDD software that comes with it. This is going to help with like 24/7 monitoring. The service providers will use the trend data coming out of the software to identify even further energy savings. And then finally, we have virtual commissioning, which is designed for more of a smaller facilities and focusing on very high level ECMs such as scheduling and temperature resets. This program uses meter data instead of like actual trend data from your systems. So it's a slightly different approach, but it's definitely a good solution if that's what you're in the market for. And then next slide, please. With that said, if you're interested, you can reach out. We'll help you determine which track would be the best for you. And then here's an example slide of typical ECMs or energy conservation measures that we see in this program. As I mentioned earlier, scheduling is typically a big one. Economizer resets, temperature resets, and so on. So the idea, again, is to help you better understand your building, how it's running, what are the areas for improvements, and overall give you a solution where It's low cost. It's just adjustments to your existing controls without impacting the comfort of your facility and other stuff. Awesome. Next slide, please. Here's an example or a case study for Michigan Plaza. It's one of our iconic Chicago buildings, and this building has been in the program for many years and done multiple studies, ended up with large savings, as you can see here. And there is a video link in these slides that you can check out later, but it does talk a little bit about the customer experience, what do you get out of it, and how you typically work with the program. And then finally, another slide regarding a case study at 200 West Madison. Same deal, slightly smaller savings, but overall great experience. And yeah, I definitely recommend everyone to reach out if you have any questions. Every building has room for improvement, and the best way to do it is by starting with one of these studies. With that said, here's my contact information, and yeah, as I said, please reach out if you have any questions. And moving on to the next slide, I'll also be talking a little bit about building operator certification today, BOC. So BOC is a slightly different program. It's more of a training that is targeting building operators and engineers. Again, just to help them better understand how they can run their buildings more efficiently. It does cover a lot of material regarding energy efficiency, HVAC systems, and other type of mechanical and electrical systems. It's about 60 hours of work, so 6 to 8 different classes that you need to attend, and it will require some homework and tests, but overall, great experience coming out of those programs. Next slide, please. On this one, I included some curriculum regarding building level 1 certification. There's also a level 2 for staff interested in more in-depth knowledge about these topics. So just to give you an idea what those look like here, again, everything is targeting building HVAC systems and overall performance of your facility. All right. And then finally, the great news is that if you're a ComEd customer, your tuition will most likely be reimbursed fully by our program. And in addition, you will potentially qualify for a labor incentive up to $6,850 just to make up for the hours you are spending in the classroom instead of in your facility. So with these incentives, it's definitely a very attractive training and very productive and useful. So please check out the website. We do have 2 upcoming sessions starting in September and October. But again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And with that said, I will turn this over to Rhonda to talk about SEM. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So happy to be here and learning all that we're learning about the ComEd programs. We're going to hop right into strategic energy management and all that it entails. So if you go to the next slide. So ultimately, the first question that we always get is, what is strategic energy management? And truly, it is a holistic approach to look at your site's energy usage and how can we, one, continually improve upon that, provide optimization over a long-term program. So we're looking for year over year and continuous improvement. And so that means we're driving your energy usage down while you're also being incentivized for that same time. The hope is to be able to better your business practices, impact your organizational culture, and truly focus in and dial in on those behavior and operational changes that can vastly improve your usage, as well as help support the implementation of capital projects as well. Next slide, and I'll dive in and give you a little bit more information on how the SEM program works. So this is the cycle of how SEM works. You experience the process of collaborative workshops, one-on-one coaching, and technical and engineering support that you receive from our team to be an extension of your team. And once you sign on to join the program, we appoint what we like to call an energy champion within your own organization. And from there, we go through the process of collecting your data, establishing that baseline so that we can truly understand who you are, what your goals are, and where you see yourself going in regards to your energy efficiency goals and sustainability statuses. We come on site, we conduct an energy scan so that we can get a full understanding and find low and no cost opportunities to truly see what that low hanging fruit is and where we can make those improvements. We've also begin modeling all of your energy simultaneously. And that's where that continuous improvement process really begins. We start the process of implementing projects with you, developing that opportunity register so that you have it, so that we can prioritize what is the best things to take on first, and then slowly implement them so you're impacting your culture, your energy, and overall organizational operations at the same time. Finally, we hope to get towards that end of the year and we're able to measure out all of the savings that we've received throughout the year and report that out and hopefully celebrate with you with a large incentive check coming back to your organization on top of the reduction of your overhead throughout the course of the program. And all of this comes to you at no cost or no additional cost for the participation. So within the program, you get all the additional engineering, all of the one-on-one coaching, all of the technical support, and a full host of people who kind of rally around your organization to really move your energy efficiency goals forward as just all inclusive as part of the program. Next slide. So these are the reasons why we look at SEM and we say it truly makes sense and what kind of sets it apart from some other programs is one, we focus on those low and no cost energy saving projects, which means that you don't have to be planning a large capital project to see those savings. We can do it finding those, that low hanging fruit, those low and no cost ways to energy, to save your energy and still see a huge reduction in your overhead and the energy that you're using as well as be incentivized for it. We also really prioritize creating a culture of savings. We really want to focus on how could we impact the culture in your organization to be more energy efficiency minded and kind of guide that work for you and provide additional support. And on top of that, hey, you earn incentives. We all want to say, hey, yes, we reduce our overhead, but what could we do to also earn incentives? And this program offers you the opportunity to earn up to 6 cents per kilowatt hour saved. And lastly, you receive a dedicated coach that works with your site to create tailored plans that are custom to you. They're not cookie cutter. We look at all of your data, all your resources, what your needs, and we provide solutions for you to be able to move through the program and have success for all of your energy efficiency goals. Next slide. So some of the key elements that I really think are pivotal and beneficial for this program is that we have that kickoff meeting. We kind of synergize ourselves all together so that we can come together. We can set our goals for the duration of the program. We adopt the goals that you kindly have and can build upon them to make them stronger. And then we also set, what we hope to achieve. Let's say that you're shooting for between 3 and 5% annual on your annual usage. See if we can save that. And so we work towards those with realistic goals, and then we implement those projects and we do those energy scans so that we can actually then see those results. And then we have that measurement period, which John will share a little bit about how we do some of our measurement and modeling later in this presentation. But we're able to understand all of your energy drivers and then model that energy so that we can not only see where you have been in the past, but predict where your energy will move to in the future. So it's a really great tool to be able to use internally and externally to share out with your stakeholders. Then we have that engagement piece where we're really focusing on understanding the behavior and engaging with your site to help see how we can impact culture and adopt new initiatives to help drive the mission further and further. And then lastly, we love to share out and celebrate accomplishments. I think that's a really huge component to acknowledge folks for the great work that they're doing around energy efficiency. And we want to be able to do that on a small scale and a large scale, and both publicly and privately for your organization. So those are just a few of the key elements of SEM that we think are super beneficial and highly impactful to impacting your energy efficiency goals. I'm going to pass it over to John now, and he'll share a little bit more about the Strategic Energy Management Program.
Thanks, Rhonda. As you've been hearing, ComEd is a partner in your energy efficiency and decarbonization journey. For example, this June, we held an SEM summit where all of SEM participants were invited and over 100 people attended. So they heard from ComEd's leadership on their 2030 vision on beneficial electrification and then how those connect with ComEd customers' own goals and interests. With SEM, we'll also strengthen the utility relationship by making it more straightforward, by serving as a connecting point to multiple ComEd offerings. So we do that and support your understanding of projects and implementation of projects with coaching, engineering, and models, as you've heard. And the projects themselves, again, focus on quick payback, O&M, and behavioral changes. We have experience with a wide variety of commercial facilities. That enables us to tailor the SEM program to how you are organized and to opportunities at your sites. Next slide, please. A little bit more in the model. So with SEM, we develop a linear regression model, which is stat talk for you'll be able to see how much energy you're actually saving after the site is normalized for weather and occupancy. It's really illuminating to see how the energy efficiency changes are showing up in these graphs, which then help to make the case to do more projects to further reduce your OpEx and to earn higher SEM incentives. Next slide, please. And the more verified savings you achieve, the more financial incentives you'll receive. On top of that, in the first year, you can double the incentive rate from 3 to 6 cents per kWh if you achieve 4% or greater savings. We also have milestones that provide some cash for completing activities that we know lead to more energy efficiency. Next slide, please. Lastly, for those of you in the public sector, we know that both budgets and resources are stretched thin. So there's a project fund to help pay for SEM projects, $12,000 or $18,000 for what, again, are typically low cost, quick payback projects. And we also have a dedicated person to support your team on making the case for projects, reviewing scopes, and generally helping to move projects along, whether those projects are in SEM or in other ComEd programs. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Brian.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. So we heard a lot of great information. So what are some next steps that we can take to make sure that we're, getting all of our questions answered and really taking full advantage of everything that's offered? So first, I would say, step number one is, hey, reach out to us with any questions, or if we want to set up, one-on-one conversations to dive into further details. So here's my contact information up here. You can always reach out to me, and I can always kind of, make sure I get that connection to the right team representative, or you can, reaching out to Katie and Kindy is always a great idea too. They do a great job of connecting us with interested partners as well. We can jump to our next slide here where we have some other resources available. So these are some great direct links to ComEd's website with some additional information. So feel free to explore and click through these. But ultimately, since we've got a couple minutes of time here, was monitoring the chat and didn't see any questions pop up, but just curious if anyone out there has any questions they want to bring up and address to the group, and hopefully we can get those answered for you.
So much, Brian. I'm gonna move us to a good slide about how to connect back with the hub so that folks can visit our website and also find our links and connect with us on future programs and find links for our past education. While we're waiting for some questions to come in the chat, I do have a couple of questions for the team if you're willing to stay on for just a couple of minutes. And I also just wanted to say to our attendees, we have a survey to help us better understand what you'd like to learn more about at future programs and what you'd like to learn more about retrocommissioning and strategic energy management. So please take a minute to take that survey. It's in the chat right now. And we'll also provide it in a follow-up email along with the recording of today's webinar and a PDF of the slide deck. But I just wanted to circle back to folks because I know it's hard to hear that things are free. So I just wanted to go back to kind of what the cost to participate in retrocommissioning and what the cost to participate in strategic energy management is upfront. And then also if folks could share up kind of remind people who's eligible to participate in those programs.
Yeah, definitely a good question to ask and good information to have. So I believe that strategic energy management is completely free to participate in. And with retrocommissioning, there is a track that may have some financial requirement to it, but I think I'll ping that over to Abdul Hadi just to clarify for us.
Yeah, good question. Can everyone hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. So for RCX Flex, there is a commitment upfront. Varies from $1,000 to $15,000. And depending on the size of the facility and the project target, the idea for this commitment is to just ensure that there is some budget set aside to implement these low to no cost measures, and especially measures that are less than 18 months payback period.
Great.
And then for NBCX and VCX, no commitment.
Great. Thanks so much. And then just another quick question about who should be involved or at the table to be really successful with these projects from the start. So if you could just share some pointers or some lessons learned or what project teams should keep in mind when they're engaging or starting out with strategic energy management or engaging or starting out with the retrocommissioning program, kind of what's the secret sauce to success of the people at the table from the start and buying into the program?
Sure. Good question. I'll start with SEM. So to reiterate, there is no financial commitment or cost to participate in SEM. And one of the reasons for that is that it does take some time from the participant in SEM side. So successful SEM participants have a energy champion who's really managing the project, the efficiency project. While we're providing resources, they are the internal resource leading that. There's an executive sponsor for that high level organizational commitment, and very little time for them. And then the more that the energy champion can spread out the work to a energy team, a green team, and we can help with that also, the better that is, both for spreading out the time commitment and achieving more savings.
Great.
John.
And Abdul Hadi for retrocommissioning.
Yeah, on the RCX side, I would say very similar. We definitely need to see an energy champion. A lot of times, this is usually the chief engineer. If you're working with property management as well, depending on the type of facility you have, property management could be involved or decision makers. By the end of the day, these energy conservation measures are going to have, in order to get good data and good investigation information, you're going to need your building engineers to provide that accessibility to systems, building operation, building BES, as well as just access to the facility and all that. But then you're going to see a list of ECMs or energy conservation measures, and you're going to need someone to determine can we implement them? Yes, no, how to implement them, those kind of questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again so much for sharing this information about these two great programs. with our audience. We're really excited and hope lots of questions come in from our follow-up email. And again, we'll have the recording along with the PDF and the contact information for each of these programs to reach out and follow up after today's session. So thank you all again from the Building Energy Resource Hub and ComEd Energy Efficiency Program. Excited to have you here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks. Have a great afternoon.